Welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from The Hindu and Indian Express. The important news and editorial that will be relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 24th of February. The first important news, that is Prime Minister address a webinar on energy for sustainable growth, which is also the government focuses upon the green growth. Second, German Chancellor to visit India. There will be a lot of engagement between India and Germany. Third, guest countries to bring own plan during the G20 Summit, the ongoing G20 Summit, which India is presiding for this year. So the countries will be coming, a lot of guest countries has been involved in the meeting and forum. Second last, that is status of India's voter linked and Aadhaar to voter ID. This is a report that was there from the Election Commission of India, and RTI was filed, upon which the details are there. The last is an editorial. India's research and development estimates are an incomplete picture. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I begin this session, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do press a like button. Starting the session, the first news, that is Prime Minister addresses a webinar on energy for sustainable growth. Something important for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic, that is the government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from its design and implementations. So before I start the discussion part of this news, just to tell you, in the recent union budget, that is for 2023 and 24, the government has come up with the vision that a lot more focus on the green alternative source of energy, and even the initiative that is there for the sustainable growth has been put in focus, and government is looking forward to achieve the target that has been there in the international forum. Now, discussion recently what has happened, that while addressing the 9th webinar in the series of post-budget webinars, the Prime Minister has talked about energy for sustainable growth. How we can achieve this, what are the targets for India, and what are the ways out that we can actually out to get this target done. Now, he said that sustainable growth is possible only through the sustainable energy sources. Even if you see the alternative source of energy like solar energy, even wind energy, another form of energy is something very important to achieve this target. The Prime Minister has reiterated India's commitment that was made at Glasgow. That was specifically COP26. अगर COP26 की बात करें, this was a time when Panchamrit was also there by the Prime Minister, and India has categorically noted the net zero emissions by 2070, right? So this is again very important. Now he mentions his vision in life partnership. So a lifestyle initiative that called for sustainable lifestyle is something that is important for the environment friendly sustainability lifestyle, right? So these are the important part that the Prime Minister has addressed during the webinars. Now, the pillars of green growth and energy transmissions की अगर बात करें, the Prime Minister has highlighted the India's future development that would be based on 3 important pillars, and these pillars call for green growth and energy transmission. The first among them is increasing the productions of renewable energy. Second is reducing the use of fossil fuel in economy, and third is moving towards a gas-based economy, right? And in this regard, there are some important government measures also to achieve the target. To achieve the green growth and energy transition, the union government has introduced several schemes and initiatives. Some of them include ethanol blending targets, even the Pradhan Mantri Kishan Urja Suraksha Evam Mahabhiyan, that is PM Kusum, a scheme for solarizing the agriculture, incentive for solar manufacturing. In this regard, government has also introduced the PLI scheme, that is Production Linked Incentive Scheme. Third is rooftop solar schemes. Fourth, coal gasifications, and the last is battery storage. So these are some of the important schemes of the government of India that is working towards the green growth and energy transition. Apart from this, there are a lot more initiative that was recently announced in the union budget also. मैं आपको वो आगे बताऊंगा. We'll discuss that in the later part of the video. Now, invest in India. This is again an important part which India is advocating for. The Prime Minister has invited the global investment in green energy sector, stressing the India's potential in renewable energy. और इंडिया की पोटेंशियल बात करेंगे रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी में, कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट कंपोनेंट है दैट इंक्लूड द पार्ट ऑफ विंड एनर्जी, solar energy and biogas. It's not less than a gold mine or a oil field, right? So this is what the Prime Minister during his address to the webinar has said. And he said that India is providing a leadership in the global collaborations like International Solar Alliance. Again, an important initiative that started way back in 2015. A very important one where the like-minded countries has collaborated to ensure that the potential of solar can be used. The target of achieving 500 gigawatts of non-fossil energy capacity and achieving 50% of the installed energy capacity through the non-fossil fuel energy by 2030, right? So this is again an initiative and the part of the target set under the Panchamrit initiative by the country India. Now, green growth की अगर बात करें, this is what the focus upon for the union budget, the current budget. So there's a specific target that is set under the green growth. Green growth is one of the 7 priorities in the union budget, which call for coming up a green industries and economic transition, environment-friendly agriculture, and sustainable energy in the country. The central government has envisaged a number of projects and initiatives spread across various sectors. तो कुछ important missions या schemes की बात करें जो इस बार के बजट में proposed की गई, and when it was something that will be very soon launched by the government, that include the green hydrogen mission, energy storage project, green credit program, PM Pranam, that is promote alternative fertilizers and balanced use of chemical fertilizers, MISTI, which is again for protecting the mangrove, wetland conservations, Gobardhan, that is for biogas scheme. And under the National Green Hydrogen Mission, India aimed to produce 5 million metric ton of green hydrogen, right? And under Gobardhan scheme, there's a plan for set up 500 new plants, right? So this will be the biogas plant that will be established across the country, right? So just to give you a brief about the entire part that was there in the union budget, as I've told you, the green credit program, PM Pranam, Gobardhan, MISTI, and again Amrit Dharohar. So what is MISTI? MISTI stands for Mangrove Initiatives for the Shoreline Habitat and Tangible Incomes. So sometimes the full form is also important for many other government examination. There can be a direct question in this regard also. Now, moving to the other news, German Chancellor visit to India, something important for General Studies paper 2 under the subtopic of General Studies, that is effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interest and India's diaspora. So in order to boost the bilateral relationship between India and Germany, so then official visit by German Chancellor is scheduled, and he'll be visiting India on a 2-day visit, which is starting from tomorrow, that is from 25th of February. He will be definitely accompanied by the senior officers, because whenever a delegation, a minister or a chancellor, even prime minister or a president is visiting to any specific country, there's a high power delegation and official that used to visit for business delegation and other MOUs that will be signed between the countries. So there are a lot more priority areas that will be there. And both countries will hold the discussion on bilateral, regional and global issues. So some specific area that will be looked upon by the countries include the area of green technology. Second is economic corporations. Third, Indo-Pacific strategy. And the last but not the least is project in third countries, right? So these are the focus area between India and Germany upcoming talks. and both sides will share the perspective in situation that is arising out of Russia and Ukraine war. We have seen that the war, which has basically entered into the second year, and so there are a lot of controversy ongoing between the Russia and Ukraine war. Even if you see the stand by the United States, the recent visit by the United States president has escalated the part of initiative where Russia has called for abrogation of a lot more agreement, right? So there's something tussle ongoing at the geopolitical level. So there will be a discussion with regards to Russia-Ukraine war, and both leaders will meet again in September this year at the G20 Summit. Now, Green and Sustainable Development Partnership की अगर बात करें, this was a part of initiative which was there between India and Germany. And during the Prime Minister visit to the 6th Inter-Conference and the Governmental Consultation, जिसे IGC भी कहते हैं, this is Intergovernmental Consultation where Prime Minister has visited, there was a agreement in this regard. Now, the Green Sustainable Development Partnership is an umbrella partnership जो कि provide करती है political guidance के लिए, and even it call for robust ties in the climate action and SDG जो sustainable development goal के targets हैं उसके साथ align की गई है ताकि जो green और sustainable development है उसे पूरा किया जा सके. Now under this, Germany will place 10 billion euros in new and additional committees under the Development Cooperation portfolio in India. Now, during the IGC, that is the intergovernmental consultation between India and Germany, has also agreed to cooperate on the green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is a future in the EV sectors. When you talk about many other sectors that can be explored, so green hydrogen is definitely something which has a huge potential. Now, there's a triangular development cooperations which is there. So, during the 6th IGC, the India and Germany has agreed to work on the development project in the third countries that will have a triangular development cooperations. और 4 प्रोजेक्ट अनाउंस किए गए थे इसमें जो कि अभी दूसरे स्टेजेस पे हैं. देयर आर लॉट ऑफ डेवलपमेंटल स्टेज दैट इज ऑन गोइंग. द फर्स्ट वेयर कैमरॉन. This is for the potato seed productions through the rooted apical cutting technology known as RAC. Again, very important. These are some of the important factual information for the upcoming prelims examination. Now, the second is Malawi, that is the agri-business incubation models for women in agriculture and food system. The third is Ghana, that is development bamboo-based enterprises for sustainable livelihood and income generations in Ghana. And the last is Peru, that is the development of geospatial portal prototype in a planning, monitoring and evaluations of Ministry of the Development of Social Inclusion of Peru, where intervention and social program is also included. So these are some of the significant part of the triangular development cooperations. Now, if you see, Indo-Pacific is something which is inevitable when a talk between India and Germany is going as a Quad members. So Germany has collaborated in Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative, that is called IPOI, and German naval frigates Begrin was there for 7-month deployment in the Indo-Pacific starting from August 21st and made a call at Mumbai by January 2020. So there are a lot of engagement that is specifically going in the area of Indo-Pacific. Now, moving to the other news, that is guest countries to bring down plan during the G20 Summit, something important for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic that is bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. So the 9 guest countries to the G20 Summit and ministerial meeting are expected to bring their own plans and the event, but ultimately this will be guided by the continuity of G20. So G20 is a forum where all the member countries collaborate, discuss the issues that is concerning globally, be it its economic issue, climate change, and many other dimensions that can be explored. So this time, 9 guest countries has been asked to share their views, to share their experiences and share their plan that how we can mitigate the overall part. The agenda for this year G20 Summit is an early stage of idea that is being socialized. Now, list of member countries की अगर बात करें जिन्हें basically the participants of this country, the 9 countries that will be participating. So under India G20 presidency, 9 countries have been invited as a guest countries और ये countries हैं Bangladesh, Egypt, Mauritius, Netherlands, Nigeria, Oman, Singapore, Spain, and United Arab Emirates. So any of them can be relevant for any competitive examination. Now, the invitee countries are likely to have participate in these are the countries that is participating other than the capacity as a member. And G20 is struggling to strike a balance between the agenda of Western countries and the global South. Now, the different group demand, definitely when it comes to the part of discussion which is there. So some group has agreed to some agenda, some group have a different agenda that they have come upon. So the agenda for G20 so far has remained a strong contested matter in two different group demanding subject to that was highlighted. The first were the Western Bloc in the G20, which was led by the United States and United Kingdom, which has expedited force cornering the Russia as an other side and determining not to allow even to become the anti-Russia meeting. And the part of the focus की अगर बात करें India's during G20 presidency. So the group basically अगर India की G20 presidency में focus area की बात करें that include bridging the digital divide, especially in developing countries, and ensure greater benefit to the technology. The digital technology transformations will be there, and even the digital infrastructure was also set up during the G20 presidency. India G20 presidency is an opportunity to set a drive to global discourse on key economic and developmental issues. Now, talking about the countries, I have several times discussed the G20 countries. The member countries' name are important. You can take the screenshot of this image. And globally, G20 represents 65% of the world population, 79% of world trade, 84% of world economy, and 79% of the world carbon emissions. Now, moving to the other news, status of India's voter-linked Aadhaar to the voter ID, something important for General Studies Paper 2. Under the subtopic, that is the government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from its design and implementations. So according to an RTI reply, Right to Information Act के reply के through Election Commission ने ये बताया है that over 60% of India, that is 94.5 crore voters, have linked their Aadhaar card to voter ID. Although it's not mandatory, but to a larger extent you get options to link. Even for the part of Aadhaar and PAN, this is mandatory when you file an ITR, right? तो जब आप इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न फाइल करते हैं वहां पे ये चीजें मैंडेटरी है, बट इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया हैज कम अप विद अ रिप्लाई दैट क्लोज टू 60% ऑफ इंडिया हैज लिंक्ड देयर आधार कार्ड विद देयर वोटर आईडी. Now, total number of voters who have linked their Aadhaar card is this much. I'm not getting into the figure. We're more concerned about the percentage data. Now, Aadhaar linkage in the state, कौन-कौन से स्टेट की क्या परफॉर्मेंस है, तो बात करें जिस स्टेट की सबसे ज्यादा एनरोलमेंट है, the state is Tripura, that is the highest rate of Aadhaar linkage. Over 92% of the voter in the state have provided with the Aadhaar details to the election commissions. और त्रिपुरा के बाद जो दो इंपॉर्टेंट है, that is Lakshadweep as a union territory and Madhya Pradesh. They have occupied the second and third position. Lakshadweep में 91% की enrollment है and Madhya Pradesh has 86% of the enrollment. Now, voters in the southern state have not provided Aadhaar in such proportions as compared to the national average. Now, in other states like Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka, both had fell shy by 71%, where it stand around to be 63 and 61 in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. The state with the lowest registration by the voters is Gujarat with 31% only, and the like documentations to the voter ID. And less than 34% of the voter in the national capital has their Aadhaar linked. So these are the data that is there from an RTI reply by the Election Commission of India. Now, option for alternate identity document, it's not mandatorily that you have to only submit your Aadhaar card. There are other options which is provided by the Election Commission of India, and that documents include the PAN also. You can have your PAN card linked, you can have a driving license, passport. There's a form 6B that was introduced last year by the Election Commission. So these are the other options that is given. The Election Laws Amendment Act 2021 was passed to reduplicate the electoral rolls by allowing the election authorities to collect 12-digit number from the voters. So this is the part of exercise with a law that was passed in the parliament. Now, moving to the editorial of the day, that is India Research and Development Estimates that is an incomplete picture, something important for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic, that is the government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from a design and implementations. So what are the issues under this editorial? First, talking about the theme. The theme is India's research and development, right? So this is India research and development on the part of and the concern that is coming and the challenges. So we'll look into the low investment in R&D, a report by the National Science Foundations, issues with the current system, key impediments in research and development, and the need of the hour. So India's expenditures की अगर बात करें research और development में, it is an activity which has remained low in compared to the developing countries. And even if you see the developed countries, actually the point of comparison is between the developed countries. अगर दोनों में comparison की जाए तो India की जो basically expenditures है वो काफी कम है research और development में. India research and development expenditure to GDP ratio is only 0.7%. एंड अगर से कंपेयर करें मेजर इकोनॉमीज के साथ सो वो एवरेज है 1.8%, विच इज अगेन प्रीटी लो कंपेयर टू इंडियाज कंपैरिजन. सो यू हैव टू रिमेंबर दिस डेटा व्हेन इट्स कम टू राइटिंग इन मेंस पेपर. स्पेसिफिकली यू शुड हैव सम फोल्डर पॉइंट दैट कैन हेल्प यू टू गेज एक्स्ट्रा मार्क्स इन द मेंस एग्जामिनेशन. Now, low investment in research and development. There are low investment in research and development by the corporate sector. So see, if a country like India has to progress, developing countries like India has to progress, they need to have a collaborations between the government as well as the private entity. So if something that is feasible to work out with a public-private partnership, incorporating the state-of-art technology and other technology transfer, that will definitely help. The corporate sector account for about 2/3 of the gross domestic expenditure on research and development. And in leading economy, it is sharing just 37% closely, right? Now, there's evidence, however, suggesting that India's GERD is data that is underestimates. Now, if you see the budget spending, if you see the expend part that is there, this is for 15 till 19. The research and development expenditures, or you can say the total part of the contribution has been reducing. And in total, the highest contribution is made in defense and research development organization. उसके बाद Department of Space को दी जाती है. Then followed by ICAR, that is Indian Council for Agriculture Research. Then we have Department of Atomic Energy, Council for Scientific Research, that is CSIR, Department of Science and Technology. उसके अलावा डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ बायोटेक्नोलॉजी, ICMR, Indian Council for Medical Research, and the left is 3.80 is given to other entity. So this is from the 0.7% I'm talking about, right? So this is the bifurcation for the total allocation that is given. Now, report by the National Science Foundations. There was a report specifically from the United States Foreign Research and Development, and it says that US की जो multinational companies है that spent close to 9.5 billion on research and development, specifically in India. This is for 2018, right? And which has increased to 9.8 billion following the subsequent year. Now, MNCs are the part that has helping the countries in spending the research and development in India. Specifically, if you take the hypothetical example of United States, these companies are helping India to enhance their part of research and development. But the latest research and statistics which was there published by the Department of Science and Technology, it has provided that estimates 60.90 billion in research and development spending by the foreign MNC, which is only 10% of the US firm has reported spending in India. So totality अगर बात करें जितनी spending है उसमें US की contribution सिर्फ 10% ही है. Now, issues with the current system, the National Science and Technology Management System of the Department of Science and Technology is an agency that compiles the GRD statistics in India, right? और ये जो डेटाज है जो गैदर की जाती है रिसर्च और डेवलपमेंट में is basically for the higher education sector and public sector enterprises, and the challenges is in collecting the data from the private corporate sector. So the government can definitely take into account for the spending that is there, but अगर private corporations की बात करें तो वहां पे accounting की issue आती है, proper reporting की issue आती है. Now some key impediments in the research and development estimates. तो कुछ दो factors है. पहली is regard to the methods that is used for research and development performances. So जो R&D की performance है, जो firms actually जिनकी evaluations की जाती है, that is not capturing the entire part of the projection, right? And the National Science and Technology Management, जो कि information system है, जिसे NSTM ISB कहते हैं, in short we call it NSTM, right? So they relies upon the data from the Department of Scientific and Industrial Research, और उसके अलावे जो CMI की जो डेटा है, that is Provis database, उसे यूज करके पूरी डेटा को कंपाइल की जाती है. So whether these data are holistic in nature, it itself is a concern. Now the DSIR list may have not include the actual part of research and performances for two reasons. First, the firm considering the government incentive is not attractive enough and they sensitize in sharing the critical information, right? Just DSIR may have not included to register the part of DSIR, right? Without themselves, the registration and even some of the part, if that is left out, is not taken into the account of that part. Now, it is difficult for research and development firms in services such as software research and development services and the requirement of having separate infrastructure for research and development to distinguish between the usual businesses. तो ये DSIR के लिस्ट में कुछ दो actual research and development performances में problems हैं जो कि काफी time तक evident रही है. Now the second is about the survey conducted by the National Science and Technology Management and the key sources to research and development statistics. So those firms who do not respond to the survey, the data is collected from the secondary or annual report that is there by the POS, which is again Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, जिसे CMIA भी कहते हैं. The method is working on the closed disclosures for the research and development spending. And there's a review document which is submitted by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs ताकि जो research और development है उसकी orientation को monitor की जा सके and a further report can be prepared on the research and development. So the part of contribution that is made by the private sectors or the entities must be noted by the government and it should be taken into the policy making consideration also. Now, what is the need of the hour? The first and foremost that we need to transform the research and development static that is truly reflecting the research and development ecosystem in the short-term and medium-term measures. And in short-term measures, the national and technology management information system should be patented and granted data both in India as well as in the United States. In order to ensure the compliances, a proper reporting of technology can be used, and this must also be revamped with income tax return form in various sections wherever it is linked, right? So this can be the one way out. And transforming of India's research and development statics will ensure true picture of research and development ecosystem where that call for short-term and medium-term measures. So it is not something immediately that will work out. Definitely a roadmap has to be planned. And accordingly, the first and foremost point is that we need to transform the research and development statics, their incorporations by the government as well as by the private entities. So these two things need to be taken into considerations. Now, moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday's questions. For first question, the correct answer is C. For second question, the correct answer is B. Today's MCQ for practice. Right. Consider the following statement about the Zonal Culture Center. It is a council that was set up by the Ministry of Home Affairs. The government has provided regular annual grant in it for conducting the various activities of the ZCC. So you have to choose the correct option, which among the following is correct. Second question of the day. That is Agni 5. It is an air-to-air surface nuclear capable ballistic missile. It can carry both nuclear and traditional weapons. So do check it out for the correct option, which among the following is the correct one. So this was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.